we have the LGBT push, right? And I'm sorry, I know there's more letters. I don't care to memorize them. What LGBTQRSPUV? I don't know what's going on, okay? Every day we wake up and they tack on another letter and they want us to learn a new word, intersectional. I mean, I'm done with the leftist vocabulary. But we get to the T, because that's the most important part, right? To me, right now, today, this push, and I've been outspoken against this, and you say, why? Why is the thing like bathroom signs? Do we really need to do that? Do we need to have a debate about bathroom signs? And yes, they're offended because this says women and this says men, but I'm not women or man, I'm intersex, I'm this, I'm that. And then you hear that they're pushing this agenda in the school system, telling children they can pick their genders. Trevor Noah, a few days ago, came out and said gender reveal parties should be a thing of the past because your child will tell you what gender they are. Now, about to be a parent, not one yet, but I can tell you that I did nanny, and the girl was 3, and she was convinced that she was a mermaid, right? The left would have it that I should be allowing her to stay in the bath forever because she is a mermaid. There's this thing called you're the parent and they are the child, right? I mean, imagine a society where we have to allow the thoughts and add meaning to the thoughts and the reality behind what 3-year-olds think. This is what the left is after, right? And then you say, what do these things have in common? Attacked men, attack women, attack gender, attack all of these things. And the one thing that's in the middle is family, right? Because when you're encouraging children to change their genders and to go through sex change surgeries, right? The decision that they cannot reverse later in life, what you are basically saying is these kids will not be able to have offspring, right? All of these things are related to the breakdown of family. They want the family unit gone because that is the thing that has made Western civilization the strongest. The nuclear family unit is under attack in this country right now. When government becomes God, right? That is what they want. They want us to pray to government for all of the answers when there's a problem. It is why I was the most vocal person out of the gate about COVID-19. Everyone was scared left and right. Candace tweets in February, not doing this, not playing this game. I've been on a plane, I've been traveling, I've been shaking hands, I've been hugging people because I know what that is when the government starts trying to tell you how to live, okay? Fear is always the mechanism to control, right? Fear. They will say something that you just go, well, we can't possibly challenge that. And the left is great at that, by the way, right? I was one of the first people, again, left or right, and got killed by both sides. The second the Me Too hashtag started trending, I said, nope. I know what that's about. People said, how could you, Candace? This is about sexual assault. This is about rape. I said, that's the point. The left has found something that everybody is uncomfortable challenging, right? Who would want to challenge a hashtag Me Too, this happened? Who would want to be the person to say this is wrong, right? Well, me, because I believe in due process, right? And I saw this hashtag happening in the Me Too movement, and I said, this is going to be the way the left takes down any man, women that they want to in a second, because they're now removing due process, right? How simple it is to remove due process. And I talk about this in my book, but is there any community that should have been louder against the Me Too movement than Black America? Did we not learn the lesson of what happens when allegations go unchecked? Do we not remember what happened to Emmett Till? How dare we allow the left to again say, no matter what, believe women. Hashtag blanket believe women. I mean, what an absurd idea. You should never hashtag believe women. You should never hashtag believe men. You should always hashtag believe facts, okay? Believe facts. And so they find these vulnerable points and they get more extreme every single time. And then people don't realize it until it's gone too far. Everyone's shy to say, and then suddenly you look at Brett Kavanaugh, and then you go, whoa, that happened very quickly, right? Well, now we understand what they're really after. And the answer is always power. It's always power. And the COVID-19 just came, it was just too well packaged. The timing, for me, it's like, wow, so we can't come together. We can't do this. We can't come together. We can't see one another. You're saying we all have to stay home by ourselves and rely on the mainstream media narrative to know what's going on outside. The one thing they have wanted, full control of the narrative, is exactly what you're handed when people can no longer go out and have experiences. This is what you call Plato's allegory of the cave, right? And for those of you that don't know that story, Plato wrote a story called The Allegory of the Cave, and it essentially says, it's a story about 3 prisoners who are hung up on a wall, and there's a fire behind them. Their entire lives, they're hung up, and they believe that the shadows on the wall are real, that this is reality. There can be no different reality, and people are putting shapes behind the fire, and they have no idea what life is outside of the cave, right? And suddenly one of them gets freed, and they go outside, and he burns his eyes. And then suddenly he starts to see reality for what it is. He sees the trees, he sees the sky, he sees everything outside. He said, oh my goodness, what I thought was reality wasn't reality. But I have to go back and tell them. I have to go back and tell the remaining 2 prisoners of what's really outside. I've now had this experience. I understand what reality is, right? And so he goes back inside, and he tells the prisoners, and his eyes are burning, and they look at him and they say, you're crazy. Don't touch us. We don't want to be cut down. That can't possibly be true. This is reality in front of us. And they mock him and they call him crazy. And I say that allegory, which I discuss in my book, is so much of what it's like to be a black conservative today, right? Because we've made it out of the cave. Right? We know what reality is. The people whose hands are still tied up looking at the shadows on the cave, the shadows being created by CNN, by MSNBC, by NBC, telling them that this is what you need to fear, this is what's real, this is what you're going through. That is a lie. Get outside and step into the sunlight, right? That is the challenge as Americans, to encourage people to never allow someone else to control your narrative. And I say that all the time. You know, when I first decided that I was going to listen, just listen, not listen to a reproduction of what he said, but just listen directly to what the president said, I was shocked after watching a full speech and then going and listening to what the mainstream media turned it into, right? How could I ever trust them with any story ever again? I have to trust my experiences. The mainstream media had created for me a reality that didn't exist about conservatism. They lied. And this is not just the mainstream media. The way they've done it has been brilliant, and you have to give credit to the left where credit is due. It was Machiavellian what they did, right? First, they realized that you have to attack every pillar and every structure that makes sense to people. So they attack God, right? First and foremost, you have to remove God. You have to remove faith. This is why in the media they routinely mock Christians, right? They say there's something wrong with Christianity. You're a Jesus freak. You're a Bible gun touting. You know, this is all wrong, right? They mock that because then once you remove God, then you've got family, and they've destroyed family. And when they did that to Black America, they knew what would happen. You see, when you remove the family, when you remove anything, a vacuum exists, and something's got to fill that vacuum. Something's got to fill that hole, right? And for the Black youth, it was easy. Instead of getting that maternity and paternity inside the home, you have to pursue it somewhere else. So you pursue it on the streets.